Hello everybody, welcome to Zelda Speedruns. Today we've got a super hype match for y'all. It's A Link to the Past NMG Tournament 2021 Winners Bracket Round 3, seed number 9 g3rd0 versus seed 39 Tam. This is a super hype matchup, and I'm super excited to watch. In comms today we've got Clear Mouse and ChecksHuman. They're going to do a super awesome job, so I'll turn it over to them because they know a lot more about this game than I do.
All right. I'm ChecksHuman, and I'm joined by Clear Mouse. How are you, Clear Mouse?
I'm doing fantastic. I've been looking forward to this match ever since I actually saw brackets. I was really hoping that this matchup would come by, so I'm very excited.
We've got another NMG 2021 matchup. I'm pretty excited about this as well.
Yeah, I mean, so it's, these runners, right? Certainly no stranger to A Link to the Past, and in fact, not only in NMG, these guys have, g3rd0 and Tam have faced each other, I think, multiple times in Randomizer tournaments as well. In particular, I think they both participated in the spoiler log last summer, so certainly no strangers to each other as well. Definitely expecting some pretty good execution from both these runners. So certainly a little bit of history. So g3rd0 being seeded very highly initially, this is actually his first bracket match. I had to kind of wait a couple rounds in. Tam, on the other hand, started in the very first round of Winners Bracket and fought her way all the way here to face g3rd0. So this is actually her third matchup, taking a win against Verts 505 with a 131. Another win against Parisian player with a 128-21. I think actually one of the closest races we've seen, with only a 3-second margin for victory. So Tam definitely worked really hard to come here to face g3rd0. Looks like we are momentarily on our way. Is that correct? Let's just take a quick peek at the race room.
And if anyone is unfamiliar with A Link to the Past, it's a speedrun that takes about an hour and a half. And this category is the most popular. And it's played like a casual playthrough, but it allows minor glitches, or in other words, glitches that are not major, depending on how you define it. So we'll see a few tricks here and there to speed up some rooms, skip a couple of rooms, but we won't be skipping any dungeons or large parts of the game or anything like that.
Yes, we will certainly, as you said, see every dungeon. May not see every room in every dungeon, and in particular, we may not see some of the rooms that you actually might be expecting to see. Certainly, not every room in the dungeons is meant to be explored. Of course, you're always feel free to explore on a casual playthrough. But even the ones that are kind of in the way that you expect to, go in the room and let's say like flip the switch in order to continue. Sometimes you can just, bypass that with the right set of movements beforehand.
And the runners are off. We have a telepathic message from Zelda, who is telling Link that she has been locked inside of a cell in Hyrule Castle, and now Link must run through the rain, find the secret entrance to the castle, rescue her from her cell, and we'll have to defeat a mini boss called Ball and Chains, or the Ball and Chains guard. One of the most difficult bosses in the game, I would say.
It's surprising, right, Jax? I mean, so Escape, this is the very first dungeon. I mean, you pretty much face him like, a couple minutes in, and it's actually considered to be one of the most difficult bosses.
It's tricky to do it 100% optimally, because as soon as you clink your sword against him or get hit, you're losing like 10%, 20% of the
Wow,
time that
really?
it takes to defeat it, and potentially losing time over a suboptimal strat.
That's
But
such a
anyway,
good point. Yeah.
yeah.
And also, right, ball and chain is actually considered actually be pretty difficult, just in terms of also health, right? So right now we're on the bare minimum 3 hearts for maximum health. For those of you who might run low percent would be pretty familiar with the setup throughout the game, but especially early on, try to still get a grasp of things. Most of the enemies here do quarter of a heart, half a heart of damage. Whenever you take a hit, ball and chain guards end up doing 1 full heart. So if you're not careful, maybe you clink an extra thing, just like you said, Chex. Before you know it, you could be down to a half a heart, or you just die in escape, which has certainly happened to many players.
Absolutely. So, we are grabbing the boomerang here in Hyrule Castle. We use this, just a couple of times in this run. I like how we use it immediately after picking it up. It just appears in our item menu and we can use it.
That's right.
So, nice.
Yeah,
touches.
Yeah, I mean, it's any time where you can avoid a menu, it's like a second save, right? Or is it 1 second or 2 seconds? Because you have to open up the menu and then close the menu, right?
Right, it's a second.
And speaking of difference of the ways to defeat ball and chain, looks like we have 2 different approaches. G3rd0 going for the probably more what he's comfortable with, the 8 slashes, but I guess and also trying to knock the ball and chain towards the center. So the distance between where the key drops and where he has to open up the cell and pick it up is trying to get closer. Meanwhile, Tam takes a little bit of safer approach. Is that right? With picking up a pot, hitting it, and then only needs 4 slashes at the end.
Yeah, I would say it's whatever. Yes, I think it's safer. But the strat that is safer is what the runner is more comfortable with.
No, that's actually a very good point. This is a race setting. In probably normal PB attempts, you are trying probably to shave off frames here and there, maybe taking some more riskier stress in order to cut down your time. This is a race. You just have to beat the other runner that's in front of you. You don't have to beat yourself. You don't have to beat any records. So long as you can stay alive and sit 1 pixel ahead of your opponent, you are good to go.
Basically.
All right, so now that we have Princess Zelda in our company, we don't have to go through telepathy anymore to communicate. We could just talk right next to each other.
That's true. So, we have to mash through the text boxes, through these talking box these through the talking, through the cutscenes, and luckily, hopefully, our runners have memorized how many text boxes each text box is. How many lines it is, basically. Not too hard, just another thing to memorize in this highly optimized game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially this is going to be one kind of major difference between. There are lots of major differences, but one thing in particular that at least the randomizer community is probably less used to or less expecting is actually the text boxes that come up, because in Rando, you basically don't have any text boxes. Save for maybe like 1 or 2. Like at Ganon, at Blind. And when you first kind of start running this game, you actually have to learn not only when the text boxes appear, but how many there are. Like for example, when you're talking to Old Man.
So Tam dealt with the key rat, the rat that drops a key, boomed it, caught the blue rupee instead, and that's one of those annoying things about that room. The boomerang tends to want to collect the rupee instead of the key, but he caught it.
I guess
the second throw.
Even for boomerangs, the economy is pretty rough in Hyrule, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Tam also just kind of getting headbutted by the rats. Did we just see a chest turn on Gerdo's side? Alright, so maybe we should keep an eye on Gerdo's side, see how many chest turns he ends up doing. In his D restaurants, I certainly have seen this going, so it might be kind of nice to keep a counter or two.
Yeah, I missed it, but I'll keep my eyes peeled.
I mean, and Gerdo is also one of the, I think, one of the few people who still run this game on keyboard, which is very impressive. And in fact, like, you actually do see in the upper left, right? You actually see like which keys are actually, being still inputted, which is, I think, always, super cool to see. But some people have like hand cams, for their controller. I want to see Gerdo's like keyboard cam. Like, I think it would be like really cool to basically see like how he ends up inputting. And basically still get like a 124 PB.
Yeah, Gerdo's really, really, really good at this game, and is previous world record holder in categories like reverse boss order. When you play these kinds of categories, the grips that the inputs are pretty interesting, and with a category where you're bootsless, where you don't collect the boots for at least the first half hour, basically.
Categories like
there's
that?
a lot of pumping, and so there's a lot of keyboard striking, probably to repeatedly hit walls while you're walking around.
Well, I had no idea that was the case.
Yeah. So, pretty interesting that both runners are playing on emulator. A lot of seasoned speedrunners like to use console, playing on original console, or maybe the more recent hardware emulator, Super NT. But yeah, emulator is still a strong choice.
Yeah, is the reason just mainly lag, I guess, like generated by the emulator?
Yeah. There's a little bit of input lag that costs a couple of frames. Like a 30th of a second or more. But people who play on emulator are used to it. And all it does is cost in terms of reacting to RNG. There is a lot of RNG in this game, but some people are better than others at reacting. Others plan around RNG. So the difference is very minor.
Yeah, but I guess, like, as you said, whatever you feel comfortable with, especially doing a race, right? If this is what you're used to, you're probably not going to change anytime soon. All right, did you catch that chest turn, Chex?
Oh, that was good.
Alright, so of course, Gerdo, framing his way towards the back of Eastern Pal, is going to be the first of our two runners to kill the first Igor with the bow. Both runners are on 2.5 hearts, respectively, so it's not going to be too bad. Does probably have to be a little bit careful. He can take one hit with relative ease. But hopefully we're going to come up with, against some red Igors. Hopefully this execution is going to be, fairly clean as long as the skeletons behave.
Right, and let's see what strat we have. It looked like one arrow right, two left, and one right. These red Igors must take damage from the bow, the item we get from this dungeon. And a good Armos Knights fight as well.
Yeah, and also, so Gerdo actually getting pretty fortunate with the arrow drops, actually getting both arrow drops, both from the red Igor and, in the first room and the second room. Unfortunately, no real money drops, though, so he's actually kind of poor relative to Tam. But Tam, on the other hand, doesn't really have that many arrows to their name.
Oh, interesting, yeah. Yeah, I don't know Tam's route exactly to earn rupees, but I'm guessing that g3rd0 uses tree rupees.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah, if we might actually see a slight divergence right here. But of course, so g3rd0 already talking to Sahashala, gonna get, when you mention we can get up to like half an hour without boots, oh man, that just hurts. g3rd0 on the other hand, manages to get his boots as fast as they can, getting out of Eastern Palace, and already putting them to use.
Right, and uses a minor glitch available only in the Japanese 1.0 version of the game called spin speed. And it involves spinning and pressing the A button, the frame after the spin. We then activate the glitch by touching a ladder. And both runners pulled it off. It looked like first try, maybe. And so, yeah, this glitch was patched out in later versions of the game, like the US version.
Yeah, it's always first try. It just depends on when you start counting. You can count starting the negatives as well. But g3rd0 ends up getting a spin speed actually on this screen. Not often gone for runners, but he ends up making a very clean entry into the library and bonking intentionally, just like what Tam is doing right here, in order to retrieve the Book of Pandora so we can go to Desert. Now, of course, is spin speed necessary? It's not necessary. In fact, if you think you've missed it the first time, I want to say in most cases it's probably not actually worth your time to retry. However, there are going to be a couple screens where that are going to be coming up where it's really worth your time to try and get spin speed in order to get past some annoying and some actually incredibly fast enemies that are just going to be in your path. Otherwise, looks like actually relatively clean dashes, for both our runners on their way to Desert Palace. Of course, one of the nice things about game design, for this is that we actually see that every single time you kind of get a new major item, right? Y item, A item, you get to use it in the next segment that kind of really showcases or highlights the benefit of that item. So as you see for Desert Palace, both to get here and in order to kind of progress through the palace itself, we see lots and lots of long hallways that we can just dash through. There are going to be no real obstacles for us. Really kind of showcases like the power of the boots.
Exactly.
Not to mention
that key off of the torch.
Yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right, Jex, because that's actually going to be another thing where sometimes we actually see that bonking in this case is going to be intentional. Trying to get things off of high bookshelves or high torches that are going to be absolutely necessary. Of course, if those are going to be the only bonks that we want in the game, we don't really want anything else.
Yeah, and another chest turn from g3rd0. Not getting the optimal chest turn in that room, but optimal is insane. And I don't know if anyone goes for that. But so chest turns are something to kind of laugh at because they don't really save time, but they're kind of tricky to do. So mostly for swag. Some chest turns set you up well for dashing straight down. Otherwise, Link will grab the chest and not be able to dash. So it's helpful to face the correct direction after opening the chest.
All right, g3rd0.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say g3rd0, first of our two runners into the back of Desert Palace. And I was just gonna say, just minor on that screen, there was actually a staircase that we could have tried to activate spin speed on. It's not often gone for runners. I would not have been surprised if g3rd0 or Tam went for it, but it's when you have super speed, it is not only great to have it, but you also have to have good control of it. And if you end up kind of going too fast, too quickly, too far, you will actually jump off the desert ledge, and then you have to take another couple minutes to actually do the whole front of desert again. And you only probably save, kind of like a handful of frames. So I mean, so you're going for PB attempts, maybe that's something for for you to go for. But if you're not comfortable with it, especially in a race setting, it's probably not to your advantage to try that.
Yeah. And yeah, I would. Yeah. So let's watch the land move fight from g3rd0. Good setup. We're gonna hope for 2 cycles, but
g3rd0 so far has gotten one Lambo per cycle. Wow, that is a very nice 3 cycle there on g3rd0's side.
Yeah, 3 is very good in a race. And sometimes 2 is just impossible.
Tam, unfortunately, not having as good a cooperation from these landmos, but just like that short hop, certainly can be quite tedious, but certainly managed to get through the fight.
Yeah, no major disasters there. Tam dealt with the cards. But, yeah, handled, and yeah, Tam handled that well. So now we have the power gloves, and we're off to the 3rd light world dungeon or palace. This is Tower of Hera, and this is a very dangerous overworld with some very chaotic enemies in both the overworld and the underworld. So this is one of the most dangerous segments in the game, I would say.
Even after like this isn't even Death Mountain, or are you saying the whole segment here?
Yeah, the whole segment. Yeah.
I really can't argue with that, Jax. Yeah. Oh.
And yeah, this trick is dangerous in a different way. So both flippers got the fake flippers. Both runners handled fake flippers well. There is a soft lock possibility there, but it was not a problem.
No, these guys are pros. They've definitely played this game once or twice before.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tam kind of taking a slight nick, causing her to lose a little bit of health. Half a heart's not going to be. Hopefully, it's not going to be the end of the world for either runner. But of course, we're seeing kind of just the dangers of what Death Mountain here has to offer. You see, it's actually really, really nice to be able to get it here on Death Mountain, just so you can move past these boulders and dead rocks that do 1 heart of damage apiece.
And g3rd0 finds himself in the Dark World as a bunny, and he's progressing to the tower. One thing that the runners will try when they transition from world to world is to get a quick warp, where the transition to the other world takes 34 fewer frames. So they're always on the lookout here to try to save half a second. Both of them tried it. It looks like Tam got it, and the trick there is just to enter the portal from the right.
There are a lot of questions I would have for developers of this game, and one of them is why did you put in quick warps? Like, why not just make all warps quick? Like, was that not possible?
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm sure Tassers and someone knows the answer.
So we are on the auto scroller, I guess, of this game, and we see how it's actually kind of interesting to see in this case how runners end up kind of passing their time. You see g3rd0 is trying to do some pretty cool boomerang strats with the boots. Tam looks like they are just going to try and kill these tiles one by one.
Yeah, so Tam can avoid the time loss in menuing to the boomerang after using the mirror, and then having to, go to the lamp. So it's not too much time that's saved with boomerang strats.
Yeah, also, both runners entering Tower of Hera with pretty much full health. I mean, with a slight half heart loss on Tam's side, but this is incredibly, like, hardy for both these runners.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be too scared here. And Tam, it could have gone a lot worse for Tam on the overworld because they were blocked by a crab. And for some reason, they deal 2 hearts of damage, which is pretty crazy this early in the game. Yeah, they fended it off.
I wonder if, crabs doing 2 hearts of damage is, it's kind of like a deterrent from you to get the Ice Rod early. Ice Rod is actually a pretty powerful weapon. Can, freeze a lot of things, but, you've got crabs guarding it, so maybe you're kind of not meant to have it so early. No, Gerdo! Oh, that, man, Moldor was such a jerk.
And just like that, we are in sync. Both runners entering the boss fight again. Moldorm's health is refilled. Yeah, so it'll require 6 hits from both runners.
Moldorm is not treating Gerdo well at all, but at least he knocked him towards the center of the arena instead.
Yeah, dealing with a left side Moldorm is very difficult because of that left-hand hole. It's just sort of cornered and bouncing around rapidly.
Yeah, I mean, and if anything, right, if you get hit or knocked off by Moldorm, you really want to do it on, like, the first or second, or, like, immediately, if you're going to get knocked off, as opposed to where Gerdo was. I think he was on, like, the 5th or 6th hit at that point.
All right, now the runners are off to collect the Master Sword. Now with their 3 pendants, that for some reason they have the power to pull the Master Sword out of its ancient stone, and with that blade they can defeat the wizard Aghanim. So now they are collecting rupees. When they pull this tree, they'll collect 20 rupees because they've defeated at least 4 enemies and they've taken damage during the run. Now we need to defeat at least 4 more enemies and take no damage. And what that will do is when we pull a tree, it will give us 80 rupees. And then we'll have at least 110 rupees, so we'll be able to get into Palace of Darkness.
So we almost broke the sync there, or sorry, we did break the sync because when they were both in the Lost Voice, it looks like they actually blocked at the same places too. Fortunately, or fortunately for Tam, they saved 1 extra block over Gerdo, and it's just like this. We're just mashing text all the way through. I did see that they, at least Gerdo takes a slightly different. Is this the same route that you take for enemy kills? Because I think I saw him kill...
missed it. I actually missed it. I've been using a peculiar route where I dash through a hoarder in a bush, and I don't know if I saw that from these runners.
Yeah, no, that's. I saw Gerdo kill the buzz blob, and I saw Tam kill the crow right from the descent.
Yeah, and shoutouts to Runner Watcher for that old tutorial, which is how I learned some of my NMG rooms. For anyone interested in learning NMG, there are so many resources for this game. And especially now we have what's called the FMG tutorial, I believe. And it lays out rooms in a very detailed, precise manner.
Is that like this game's version of like Couch to 5K? basically you could just go from like nothing and just kind of work your way up to like 130, 125, 123 time.
It is meant for advanced strats, so newer runners can use it as more of as a reference. We also have new player guides such as Fruit Bats tutorial, which is another one I use a bunch now that I think about it. Fruit Bats and the Runner Watcher. But yeah, FMG is sort of the latest and greatest.
Does the FMG tutorial have anything about chest turns?
I'm sure it does. I can't think of any offhand.
Yeah, we definitely saw g3rd0 pulling off another test turn in the Dark Maze of Magnitude. So actually, a lot of stuff happened in this game so far. And in particular, there was actually one room, or at least the first room, where the runners first tried to get a key. It was really nice that both runners ended up having sword beams for that room, because this is kind of some pre-planning for hopefully we can get a fairy drop much later in a much more difficult dungeon, just so planned, because we actually saw that both runners ended up dash killing the blue guards, and if you dash kill something, it doesn't advance the price pack. It happens to be that the blue guards, the mini Helmasaur, and the Pokies that we see in Turtle Rock are all connected via price packs. So the fact that the runners were able to keep sword beams and kill the blue guards by dashing through them instead of just like slashing, the normal way, gives them a chance in order to get that fairy drop later. We're gonna hopefully see that for both these runners like half an hour from now.
So our runners passed through, they both struggled a bit with the Circle of Pots room, where we had to grab a key from a guard, but they cleaned it up. And another funny thing is now g3rd0 is up one bomb. When we have to deal with a guard who gets in our way, we might be using an extra pot, and g3rd0 used a pot that had a bomb under it, so just went for the bomb. Not a typical bomb route.
Not often heard of bomb routes. Normally you just hear about arrow routes the whole time. So, but resource management for this game, just being so optimized as it is very, very important.
Okay, so now we're dealing with a boss with pure RNG. I think we've seen 3 blue balls on Tam's side. Yeah. So, sort of losing the RNG battle right now. On average, a runner will come ahead. 50% of the time, a runner will be within a 12-second difference after this fight. I didn't say that very well, but someone did the math before the tournament, which was really helpful.
Yeah. I think something like half time is pretty negligible, just in terms of time difference. Yeah. Although maybe I shouldn't say that for Tam's case, because they actually ended up winning race by 3 seconds. But actually, yeah. But speaking of which, though, Tam had some pretty unfortunate blue ball luck at the beginning, and g3rd0 would just kind of piled it on towards the end, and just like that, we're pretty much just back in sync.
Yeah, that's good. That's great to see. It's great to see that the RNG doesn't make the difference in this particular fight. I mean, we'll see it throughout this run, differences in RNG. But yeah, it's great to see both runners starting out in the Dark World now pretty much in sync.
Yeah, from a viewer's perspective, the fact that this race is super close is really great to watch. From the runner's perspective, might be slightly conflicted about what they're wishing on their opponents.
Oh yeah.
Some nice and very convenient spin speed coming off of the pyramid. There are lots of stairs in which in order to activate spin speed from. course, on Gerdo's side, we'd see the first of our couple appearances of the Birdo. Very close to, of course, Gerdo, but of course, Gerdo has to be a bit careful, as does Tam, because one of those birds ends up doing 3 hearts of damage to you. Could be quite costly on the overworld, especially this early in the game. We only have 7 hearts to deal with.
Yeah, and this is a tricky room to do well. The screen, we don't have as great of a chance as taking damage as we do when we come out of this dungeon. Yeah, we may be talking about lotteries later.
Yeah, so one of the earliest chest turns that Gerdo ended up doing when he grabbed the Sanctuary Heart as the Tam coming out of his cave. This is actually one of the this dungeon is actually one of the reasons why many runners end up picking up that extra safety. So we actually see that both runners have 7 hearts, and Helmasaur, the boss of this game, is known to be a run killer here in the Dark World. Whatever hit that you end up taking, intentional or not, is going to be 2 hearts of damage. If you only have 6 hearts, 6 maximum hearts, that only allows you to take 2 hits, right? Because the third one will kill you. But because you have that extra Sank heart, and you have 7, you actually get another hit in as a buffer.
Yeah, and runners will deal with their risk of death in different ways. Some runners learn to be more careful. With low health. Some runners, when they reach low health, start slowing down. So having more health, depending on the runner, they'll be able to clear rooms faster. Yeah, it just depends on your style.
We actually did see that Gerdo, with the fortune of keeping sword beams, is actually also able to preemptively strike at Abari, so he doesn't have any chance of getting in his way. Oh wow, that was a really well executed hammer out there on Gerdo's side.
Really well done. See Tam's line up here. Very nice. So hammer jump is one of the most difficult glitches to pull off. It's known as a double pixel perfect trick because we have to put Link on an initial coordinate to lay a bomb, and then a higher coordinate to stand in the way to let the bomb blast Link over the hole, I guess. Not sure what. Yeah. And they have to place a bomb in the middle to blow up a wall. So it's really tricky to set up.
Yeah, certainly it is difficult, but it is one of those tricks where, with enough practice, you could definitely master it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like the only kind of source of RNG in this case is going to be you, as the player controlling Link.
Yeah, exactly. And the players will be watching Link's position, and if they're off by a pixel, they'll want to move for 1 frame to move 1 pixel, and to do that they may be using pause buffers. And it's it's a bit tricky, but with the getting the right rhythm, they get used to it. It's a game that runs at 60 frames per minute, which thankfully we can see as they are running
that's right.
it on emulator.
Yeah, we see that on both runner sides.
Now I have the Helmasaur can't fight.
Yeah, unfortunately, Gerdo was down 2 hearts. I think from Mimics or Spikes or something. I think I just missed that real quick. But
yeah, the Mimic fired. So, okay, Gerdo. It's 3 hearts. Got the mask off, and the Helma's down. Gerdo uses a spin speed setup to to change the hitbox of the hammer and make it a lot easier to land hits with the hammer. And Tam approached the boss in the same way. So, great fights from both runners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of those, if you didn't think that the boots were valuable enough, this is just another example of why having boots, it makes the game totally more playable. That the hammer, the spin speed hammer, is actually just discovered fairly recently. I want to say, so something within the last year. I think beforehand, this helmet fight was actually a lot more questionable, just because you didn't have the safety, right? The hammer hitbox, if you've ever tried, especially hammering up, can be quite unpredictable / unexpected. And so the fact that we can extend that hammer's hitbox to what the sword's hitbox is makes this fight a lot more reliable. Okay. I'm glad g3rd0 kind of, won the lottery in his favor. That Ropa looked like he was gunning for him and two of his hearts.
Yeah. Oh.
Wait, he did take damage. Oh.
Yeah, I was looking at Tam's screen when g3rd0 took that damage.
Oh,
because Tam dealt with the Ropa by the first Ropa by beaming it, just not taking any chances with that one.
All right, so of course, 2 hearts is still pretty important, especially at, this stage where we only have 8 hearts. Certainly not going to be insurmountable. Of course, the game is fine so long as you don't take damage, right? And of course, it just happens to be that you just have that less of a buffer going into Thieves Town.
Right.
All right, so speaking of quick warps, we're going to see g3rd0 and Tam also attempt probably more or less a famous one. I'm not quite sure if g3rd0 ended up getting it, but he did get a first try dig. Hopefully Tam will have better luck in positioning.
Oh no. Commentator's curse, perhaps.
It's always the first try, just start counting at something earlier than 0. Alright, so so we're seeing that g3rd0 does end up getting spin speed on the screen. It's probably one of the most important screens in order to get spin speed on. We're going to see Tam hopefully get the same thing. That red guard that he kind of blasted through can be very, very dangerous if you don't have spin speed. He will just bamboozle you over and over, take away lots of health, and before you know it, you're down like 3 or 4 hearts.
And we're seeing g3rd0 sword out during this cutscene, which means he may be charging his sword to get another spin speed at the stairs. Here he goes.
Oh.
Now that's a rarely seen.
Yeah.
Rarely seen spin speed, which may save. I don't even know if it saves 10 frames. Maybe
10 frames could be the difference. I mean, this race is definitely very close. So. You also do see another perk of being able to item dash with the hammer, exclusive to Japanese 1.0 version, where you don't have to stop your dash early, hammer down the peg, and then and then continue your path. You just hammer dash your way right through those pegs, and you don't have to pause at all, saving some time.
Right. And just for more Japanese version trivia, we do play on the Japanese version because it saves time. It especially saves time in the text box mashing. It doesn't save as much time with the minor glitches that it allows. But these minor glitches make it very fun, in my opinion.
I hear you're somewhat of a glitch aficionado, Checks.
I do like playing with glitches, yes. There's so many ways to play this game. And no major is one of them to deal with glitches.
I think like no major glitches can be like a really nice palette cleanser, right? Especially kind of get into like all the different sorts of glitches and categories that this game has to offer.
All right, Gyarados running through the Hellway here, one of the most annoying and damaging rooms. Yeah, he took some damage there.
Yeah.
We'll see how Tam deals with it. Okay. Tam eventually got on the 1 pixel that allows Link to dash straight up, but the enemies still got in the way, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, like those I don't even know what those star pink things are called, but I mean they were just really cutting after Tam.
Yeah, they are apparently called Gibo.
Gibo,
but
okay.
not a lot of people call them that, I guess.
Yeah, this is one of those that hallway is, in order to do it properly or to get it absolutely correct or optimally, you need to both get on the pixel and for the enemies to cooperate with you. And we actually saw that even if the slightest things go wrong, you end up losing a boatload of time and your health becomes an imminent danger.
I really like Tam's strat coming back into the Hellway, where he used an enemy's iframes to walk through it. He slashed the Gibo and was able to walk through it. That doesn't always get in the way, but when it does, that's a cool way to deal with it.
Nice. Alright, so after picking up the Titan Smiths, hopefully the bulk of the danger of this dungeon is going to be done as we're coming up to the blind fight. So as many of you might be familiar with, blind is in fact a scripted fight, meaning that if you do exactly the same thing every time, he will do react the same way. So in this case, there is a script in fact that people can follow, in which case you don't take any damage from this boss.
And no matter what sword or weapon we use against blind, it always takes 9 hits. There are always 3 hits per phase. Gyarados defeats blind. Script has been followed.
Yeah, Tam looks like they've also got a good phase 1, good phase 2, hoping to get a good phase 3.
Yep. Very nice.
Yeah, both runners end up doing very well for their blind fights, and still through pretty well synced actually after 44 minutes of this game.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to see, but I'm not surprised. We're seeing on Gyarados splits that he displays on his stream. He's showing a Ganon defeated at 126.51. I don't know if that is a recent time. It's not his PB, so I'm not sure if that's a time to beat. So that's a good time. Tam also is showing a time that's not too far away from that time at 127.55. So we're going to see these runners within a minute of each other if they both play well.
Yeah, that at least according to speedrun.com, Tam's PB listed is a 128.09. So if that was a recent one or just not submitted, that's pretty cool for Tam to break the 127 barrier. And for clarification, the 126.51 is actually the time that g3rd0 had facing a Link Orange earlier in this tournament during groups. g3rd0, I think, hasn't been super active actually in Link to the Past until probably actually just this tournament, trying to get some D-Rust runs in. So it's definitely a 2021 time.
Right. Exactly.
But I mean, the fact that g3rd0 probably hasn't been playing as much, especially in comparison to Tam, who I think is very active on ladder, probably does pick up races as well. The amount of rust that g3rd0 is showing is actually very little. Just probably does some warm up, and you can see that he's actually running. He's definitely running well so far.
And we're seeing 2 different strats. two different ways to deal with this room where we need to get the tempered sword. By the way, nice fence stash from g3rd0. And g3rd0 uses the older strat just to get the tempered. Well, I don't know if it's older or not, but it's more of the like runners more recently used the method that Tam used just now.
Yeah, I think g3rd0 is actually on record saying that he's actually a bit wary of this new strat because he's seen so many runners accidentally go back into the portal when they're not supposed to, and then if you go back to the portal, you have to come back to the light world, which is like a lot of seconds lost at that point, probably for not much time gain.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where there's barely a time difference, and is worth timing yourself if you are inclined. But yeah, there are different movement problems in each one, different problems to solve. So depends on your comfort, I guess. All right, and by the way, we're using a bomb jump to earn the fire rod here in Skull Woods, and we're seeing g3rd0 use a spin setup to place Link on the very highest pixel of the platform, which is one of two good pixels where Link can stand and be bombed over. And Tam uses the same method, so that's kind of cool to see.
Yeah,
and that is one of the newer bomb setups.
Oh, really? Okay. What was the older setup?
The older setup is one we see where we place a bomb and then Link charges a dash and then bonks to the side.
Oh, okay.
That is a strat that a lot of runners are comfortable with after using it for several years, whereas the spin setup has not been around for more than 2 years, I would say. You know, relatively young. So, yeah, and the bonk setup is also good because it gives Link a 6-pixel window where Link can be lined up before dashing, which is a nice range. So it's more lenient, but the timing is, it's a little different.
I mean, 6 frames is like an eternity. You have to do these, frame perfect movements. Speaking of really good movement, we had a really nice, clean moth fight on g3rd0's side.
Very nice. This is kind of an RNG situation. With good patterns, we want to see the moth bounce back into Link. We do not want to see the moth trapped in the spikes. All right. Nice fight from Tam as well. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, I mean, so this adage is true for every single boss that you face, but the best way to kill Moth is to finish that fight as fast as you possibly can. So I think I've seen a lot of runners try and get a dash poke in, so that kind of hits twice the temper sword, so you only need 2 more hits after that as opposed to the 3, and hopefully you can just kind of slash him and get the temper sword damage in without, as you said, Chex, knocking him into the spike, because Mothula is immune to spike damage.
Yeah, another one of the developer questions that we are preparing for the developer interview later. Why are there quick warps, and why doesn't Mothula take damage when we slash it? Yeah. So go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, that's right. Okay, so yeah, now on to the next segment. g3rd0 is going to pick up one of our 2 requisite medallions, going to visit our good friend Catfish. Hopefully he does not get lotteried by the Ropa again here. That's time. g3rd0 won out and ended up slashing and killing the Ropa instead of getting hit for no reason. One of the most important things we want to make sure happens in this segment, as we want to be able to keep full health so we can keep our sword beams and the Enters of Ice Palace. Unfortunately, Tam ended up getting kind of speared twice now in order to lose one heart. So it's not the end of the world. There are going to be recovery hearts potentially that are going to be in their path, but we really want to be able to keep full health here.
And yeah, Tam was setting up for a nice shield usage to block the first spear, but for some reason it just didn't line up correctly. So Tam slashes a bush, tries to farm a heart there. We may see Tam try another location. There's a rock coming up.
Yeah, we also saw that both runners ended up, after they threw the annoyance into the pond, they ended up bonking on the right side. This does unlock the camera, so it does kind of speed up things a little bit. It's more probably just important as a setup for another quick warp that we both saw both runners get. So long as you unlock the camera and pick up the quick medallion, that quick warp is actually free.
Right.
Alright, so moment of truth now. This is the last, probably most difficult part of this segment of the overworld for g3rd0 and also for Tam, is at least especially for g3rd0 to try to keep his beams and his full health. He has nice RNG from the Zora. Nothing is in his way, so he hopefully is going to not get hit for the rest of the fight, and it'll keep his beams. And we're going to see them being used certainly in the second room of Ice Palace, and hopefully later on for the conveyor belt room as well.
We saw a very nice Ice 1 from g3rd0. The Fire Rod worked correctly in that room, using its area of effect to melt the Freezor. And g3rd0 was able to fix the broken Fire Rod by using the flute on another screen, which sets the altitude variable, which for some reason is a shared variable between the duck and the Fire Rod's area of effect. I'm simplifying that a little bit, but for some reason these items interact with each other in a weird way that speedrunners have figured out.
Is that another question for the developers? It's like, why are Blue Guards, Mini Helmosaurs, and Poke's prize packs connected? It's like, why are these things that don't seem to relate to each other connected?
Yeah, I think that's good design. Oh, g3rd0 missed the setup for the Stolfos Knights. That's not a common mistake, but that's okay. g3rd0 uses that extra bomb that he got from Aghanim's tower, perhaps.
Maybe everything was planned.
Yes.
So
it's very nice bomb jump. This bomb jump is one of the most difficult bomb jumps in this speedrun, and it helps us skip half of the dungeon. If not, well, I would say more than half of it. Tam does his Stolfos Knight very well.
Yeah, if Ice Palace bomb jump is probably one of the most important bomb jumps to learn in this game. If you ever tried to complete Ice Palace in the more or less developer intended way, it is like 3 loops basically, like all throughout the dungeon for you to get the big key, go through like the big key door, and then drop down all the way to Cold Stair. And in fact, actually, if you look at the official Nintendo Power Guide to this game, like Link to the Past, they actually tell you to go beat Misery Mire to go get the Cane of Samaria, and then come back and finish off Ice Palace.
It's pretty funny. There's no one who can actually explain how to get through this dungeon. We saw Tam struggle a bit with the bomb jump, but thankfully they got through it. And now g3rd0 is approaching Cold Stair, one of the scariest bosses in this game after Ball and Chain Guard. Very good.
Oh, but that's a really nice, clean Cold Stair fight from g3rd0. Alright, Tam... Yeah, Tam's gonna come up on their Cold Stair fight. a little bit nervous for the amount of health that they have, just because it is 4 hearts. So because at this point, right, the main dungeon prize for Ice Palace is the blue mail, which halves a lot of damage and definitely reduces damage on boss fights. So the game definitely expects you to have blue mail by this point. That being said, Cold Stare, one hit from Cold Stare will kill Tam. So you can take one hit from the falling icicles because they only do 2 hearts, but now Tam is definitely in Oko mode. Oh no!
Yeah, that's unfortunate. The ice burst in just a way just to hit Tam. It burst into 2 different patterns, and they got the bad pattern.
Yeah, that's so unfortunately.
So, yeah. Sorry, I wanted to talk more about something unrelated. Okay, so now, so how is Tam going to deal with this? Tam has 0 magic and cannot get back into the dungeon, but can refill magic by defeating a boss and getting a refill. So we'll just go to Swamp Palace. And now, hey, both runners are in Swamp Palace. Let's go. It's a race. And of course, Tam will have to go back to Ice Palace after a dungeon clear here.
Yeah, and certainly there is no way that Tam is out of this race, right? And you just... I don't wish anything ill upon either g3rd0 or Tam, but Cold Stare is not the last boss of this game. There are many rooms, bosses or not, that are actually quite difficult, and one mishap on g3rd0's side can certainly turn the tables right back.
So, Swamp Palace is an annoying kind of dungeon where it's very difficult to avoid damage. It's the second dungeon of the Dark World, so the enemies are not as powerful as what we've seen already. So they may deal 1 or 2 hearts of damage. But the Baris are notoriously difficult to predict, even though they move so slow. So they can be some of the most difficult obstacles here.
Yeah, that's actually true. And Baris are even probably more tedious because if you slash them at the wrong time, they start electrocuting, right? And not only do you have to lose some health, you also have to sit through the electrocution animation, which certainly no runner wants to do. And not only that, like, if you end up slashing the red Baris, right, you can't even kill them because they just split into 2. So you have to deal with 2 little ones, basically have like the same, kind of like wonky hitboxes. Yeah. Also, another thing about Swamp Palace, and this is also kind of like maybe another advantageous backup method to try and get magic, is we actually will see the difference here between Tam has no magic and g3rd0 has full magic. They're not going to use a single drop of magic in this dungeon, so it is really actually a very free refill, for Tam when they eventually decide to go back.
Yeah, one thing we've seen in this tournament is runners come to this dungeon after losing a fight to Cold Stare, and depending on the runner and how they deal with Argus, they may be using the fire rod at the end. So in this backup, it's important to remember that this whole dungeon has to be dealt with slightly differently. Not the whole dungeon, but rather the very end of it, depending on the strat. So we cannot use the fire rod if we have no magic, of course.
That is actually a very good point. I totally forgot about the boss and the fire rod shots. We have definitely seen more than one occurrence where a runner has encountered the text box of shame.
Yeah, but, it's kind of trivial because the time loss of dying to Cold Stare is so great, but it's just one of those things that kind of part of the mental game.
Tam has actually done quite well in Swamp Palace so far. They have actually more health actually now than they came in with. So kind of goes to show you how I guess they've been able to avoid these enemies and take more damage.
Really good. Now we're in a room called Hook Dash, where we are pressing Y and A on the same frame to get a hook dash to this pot. And for some reason, Link is in a state where he can easily pick up a pot from behind a statue. So we use that to push the statue, then pick up a pot.
Yeah, definitely still one of the more classic rooms here in NMG. For those of you who might be familiar with a technique called diver down, or maybe seen some in randomizer races, that glitch is actually not allowed for NMG.
Right. It's a glitch that is allowed in restricted major glitches and unrestricted as well. So,
unfortunately, both runners getting not so good water tech type patterns, so kind of end up getting hit the opposite direction. Of course, we want to be the damage boosted to the left, not to the right. Looks like g3rd0 and Tam also are both going for the zero cycle. g3rd0 pulls it off. Looks like it. Really nicely
really
done.
well.
We see the fire rush shots plus the one spin on g3rd0's side, a really clean, fast Arcus fight. Tam also remembering that they do not have any magic, so just with a very classic 2 spins.
So now we're mashing text in a crystal cutscene where we have the longest time before the next segment.
Is this really the longest crystal cutscene?
Yeah, Swamp is the longest by a couple of seconds. I believe Turtle Rock is next. Turtle Rock? Turtle Rock. No, Palace of Darkness. Sorry.
Okay. I will just take your word for it. I mean, I know that, like, in the beginning, right, there's a lot more, I guess, like, tutorial information that the maiden is supposed to tell you. So, like, Palace of Darkness, she tells you that, oh, go rescue all my other maiden friends, and here are all of them. And then, I'm not sure what happens in Swamp, but I assume there's going to be a lot more lore. As opposed to, like, the later ones.
It's lore that... Yeah, it involves the... I guess the 7 wise men and other characters that don't make a difference to the story, to the gameplay, or anything. Okay, now we have shopping trips sorry, I didn't want to say shopping trips. Let's call this a collection option. So we have both runners collecting the ether medallion here. And it just depends on preference, where we pick up the ether medallion and the ice rod. And maybe they are both picked up at the same time. Maybe they are picked up at different times. g3rd0's picking them both up now.
Yeah, and as you said, it all is mainly just preference. Probably the most important part is that at least for entering Mire, just like when entering Ice Palace, we want to be able to keep sword beams for that first room just to make, rather the second room, nice chest turn g3rd0, just so we can speed up execution by a fair amount. And some people like to choose to save, either for like later or right in front of Swamp, solely because if you don't have full health going into Swamp, it's probably not going to be the end of the world. And Death Mountain can definitely take a toll on your health. Right. We have g3rd0 coming up with the second meetup of his g3rd0 friend.
So It's great that we have full health in Misery Mire. We can use beams in Mire 2, and in other rooms as well. Beams speed up rooms quite a bit. We missed the cycle on the Wiz robe, so we didn't get the optimal room there.
But in addition, in addition to you wanting to keep sword beams for Mire 2, just health in general in Mire is pretty important, right? This is the 6th dungeon of this game, after Ice Palace, in chronological progression. And so when the game thinks that you have Blue Mail, which has all the damage that you take, the game's like, well, let me just make everything hit harder. And pretty much everything in this room or in this dungeon does 4 hearts. And all the new enemies do. And when enemies only do 1 heart, there are a lot of them that can do 1 heart to you at once.
Wiz robes, slugs. Yeah, so not only do they deal damage, but we optimally get a key that we have to walk across spikes to earn, and that costs 3 hearts. We then have to fight a boss where we walk through the damaging slime, which costs a few hearts as well. By the way, Tam pulled off a spin clip in Ice Palace here, which was great to see. Passing through the stair, like a few pixels of the stairwell. And Tam is approaching Cold Stair. One thing, we were talking about the low health and blue mail situation.
Tam,
we have a scary fight.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think was the spin just too early in that case. This is really.
I think so.
Oh, no. All right, but we have confidence in Tam. Tam is a very experienced rando runner. Facing Cold Stair, in these types of situations, is certainly not the first time that they've done this.
Great cleanup.
Oh yes, that fight is really, really scary. Tam handles it very, very well.
Yeah. One thing we learn as a casual player, if we're experiencing this game for the first time, Link can read telepathic messages from Sahasrahla. So there are 3 such messages in this dungeon, more than any other. So Sahasrahla tells Link that he should have a potion of magic.
Oh, really?
Or in some other words, basically telling us that we should prepare a blue or green potion. Because of all it takes to defeat the boss. It requires a full bar of magic if we're using the fire rod.
And for also those who play through casually with that extra potion, the fire rod also does indeed do damage to Cold Stair itself.
Mm-hmm.
g3rd0 coming up onto the Vitreous fight, so it does actually a really nice job cleaning up. Just barely missing the 1 cycle. We actually do see, in addition to wanting health, basically just to survive, we also see g3rd0 doing damage boosting strats, right? So every eyeball that Vitreous hits is 4 hearts, but the slime that surrounds Vitreous only does 1 heart. So g3rd0 is able to take advantage of only taking 1 heart of damage, getting the iframes, and then basically going and crowding around all of Vitreous' eyes to spin in order to kill the eyeballs very quickly.
And Tam is now in Misery Mire. Defeats the Wizrobes in 1 cycle. Great. Tam went, I believe, for a slightly easier strat, whereas g3rd0 went for Fast Mire 2, where we beam early. But yeah, Tam's method is probably more consistent.
Yeah, and of course in a race setting, anything that you can do to be consistent and what you feel comfortable is definitely going to be the thing that probably wins you out the race, or at least
Oh yeah,
gets you through the race.
for
Gerdo,
sure.
hopefully his last time here on Death Mountain, still not being. Oh my gosh.
Whew.
Poor Gerdo. Not being treated well at all. I mean, 4 hearts is. I mean, it's not bad. It's not. I mean, it's certainly not good. So he's going to be down a little bit of health in terms of deficit going into Turtle Rock.
Yeah. The dead rock after the Waffle House, as we like to call it, came from below to block the top path of the rocks, between the rocks. It's just a mess in this part of the world.
Yeah, but Gerdo, using some game knowledge, probably thinking that he wants full health coming into Turtle Rock, ends up bonking out a fairy from those bonk rocks here up in the mountain. Gonna try and get the quick warp here on Turtle Rock. Gets it! Nice job. That is a very difficult quick warp to get. I don't care what anybody says.
It is not free.
Alright, so oftentimes runners don't come in here to Turtle Rock because of what happens on Death Mountain, but in this case we get the fortune of seeing Gerdo here with full health, with sword beams. Most likely he is going to preemptively beam that Bari away so he doesn't get knocked off the conveyor belt. Wow, or not! That Bari just slid right past Gerdo. Nobody takes any damage.
So we mentioned damaging enemies in Misery Mire. In Turtle Rock now, it's even more so, where most of the enemies deal 4 hearts of damage. And so we're intentionally taking damage just to get through the roller room more quickly, but we are confident that we'll earn a fairy drop. And there it is. Just what we wanted. So, yeah. So Gerdo preserved the prize pack from earlier dealing with Aghanim's Tower and was able to keep it so that he earned a fairy drop from the Pokey. There, if he had missed it, there are more Pokies in this dungeon.
But of course, you know, ideally you would like to get that fairy before you face Chain Chomps, because Chain Chomps, just like very many other enemies in that dungeon, do 4 hits of damage. Damn, unfortunately, something hit her, or hit them before the second spin, I think?
Yeah, I didn't quite see. Vitreous is very difficult to deal with because the eyeballs just move in different ways. We never know which eyeball will strike first, so it's difficult to get Link oriented to keep a sword spin and walk over the slime. So maybe there's a sword dropped. Maybe there's a bop from an eyeball.
The most important thing that didn't happen to him was that they are still alive after the Vitreous fight. Another boss death at this point would be quite demoralizing.
Yeah. So Gerdo with beams is not using the optimal beam strat in the Krista roller room, just going with some Arya strats. So good. It's good to have one strat at least that works. We don't have to know every item combination, every strat for every room, but that one is one that we should always know, basically.
Yeah, actually, so speaking of though, Gerdo doesn't have any magic left, so I guess I'm not really sure what he's gonna do in the crystal puzzle room that's coming up after he claims the small key on Laser Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, almost gets the fast beetle, but unfortunately, you're not supposed to take the dive with the fast beetle. You're supposed to knock him off first and then get the key.
Uh-huh. We'll probably
Tam.
see some pot throws.
Oh, okay.
There's one.
g3rd0 has to be a bit careful though, because g3rd0's on 2 hearts of health right now.
Yeah. So Trinex is coming up. Trinex's body deals 1 heart of damage to Link. Trinex's heads deal 4. So g3rd0 cannot touch Trinex's head. Start with the fire head. Very nice. Next is the ice head, which easily jukes, but g3rd0 deals with it.
that was a pretty close middle Trinex head.
Yeah, very close. Pretty scary. And g3rd0 sets up for a rightward spin, which is a little safer because it does not put Link in the path of Trinex. And g3rd0 defeats Trinex. Very nice.
Yeah, so, of course, this being a NMG speed run, runners are allowed to watch each other. I'm actually not sure if g3rd0 does keep tabs on his opponent, but, if he is watching, right, the worst possible thing at this point to happen to him is to die, basically anywhere in the game. So whatever, if he wants to play a bit more conservatively in order to make sure that he survives the fight and not have to redo the whole of Turtle Rock over again, is definitely going to be to his benefit. Yeah, Tam joining g3rd0, at least briefly in Turtle Rock. Unfortunately, could not enter Turtle Rock with full health, but certainly only losing 1 heart on the overworld is really well done. Hopefully, Tam's going to be able to also get their fairy from the Pokey soon. See, oh no, oh no, that fairy can't come any sooner.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the dashes are fairly precise to get out of the room with just the 3 hearts of damage, and unfortunately Tam took 3 hits, which adds up to 9. We'll get 1 back from a heart. Hopefully we get 7 more from a fairy.
Yeah, you definitely see Tam taking their time with the iframes on that block. The chain chomps do 4 hearts of damage, so would have definitely been the beginning of the dungeon again if Tam ended up getting caught. Alright. That bonk was a little iffy with that pokey, but I'm glad that they did not get hurt.
Meanwhile, g3rd0 is in Ganon's Tower, one of the most fun dungeons in this game. And he's sort of in the puzzle and obstacle section here, going into the basement to earn the big key. Meanwhile, Tam does get the fairy.
Yeah, definitely a small solace in this very, very dangerous dungeon.
And g3rd0 has an option of 3 keys to pick up, 1 of 3. We saw g3rd0 skip the torch, so it'll be interesting to see if g3rd0 goes for the chest key, let's call it.
The pre-Moldrum 2 chest.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't actually know if that room has an actual name, or like an official name or anything.
Yeah, we tend to call it the chest key. There's also the Helma key in the double mini Helmasaur room, which optimally requires a heart of damage. It's a little tricky to set up. So now we have the Ice Armas fight. We have Blight World boss refights in this dungeon. Each one has a clever difference. This one is on ice. Now the setup somehow we messed up Armos. Gerdo had to clean it up with a sword. Looked like he used dash pokes. He gets
still more chest turns. I've lost track count of how many he's got at this point.
Fantastic. Giving us 2 chest turns in that room. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, and of course, this is the first time that either runner has demonstrated that if you do not kill the last Armos Knight before the game registers, that all the other ones have been defeated, that last Armos Knight goes to full health.
Right.
Gerdo
and
all the
without
drops.
I'm sorry.
No, I just observed that Gerdo ended up getting 15 arrow drops, like from the Igor, the mimics.
Yeah, it's always funny when it rains arrows in those rooms. Yeah, the Armos fight takes a lot longer when it doesn't go according to script, and so the last Armos will take 12 slashes basically.
I did see Gerdo was able to dash through that cannonball room like a pro. Probably played this game once or twice before.
Nice Cannonball Z. Alright, now we have Gauntlet. 5 rooms in a row of enemy kill rooms.
That was actually a really nice block on Gerdo's side because he just dashed straight to the left and was able to use that bonk of Ricochet to kind of get him right back to the beginning of the door.
Really nice Gauntlet. Then we have Lamo 2. Ideally, we want to deal with it in one cycle. It got out of hand for Gerdo, so it's taking over 2.
Gerdo does have to be a little bit careful of his health. He is only down to 5 hearts. I mean, health in general is important. You definitely don't want to die here at the end of Ganon's Tower. You see him picking up, a bit more safety in terms of magic and that extra hearts. Hopefully, we're going to be okay after we defeat Aghanim 2. Oh, that's a really nice heart drop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wizrobes drop hearts, so this can be a part where if we get lucky, we can refill on hearts if we really need them.
And just make sure to not touch the Wizrobes themselves because Wizrobes do 4 hearts of damage. So try and get 1 heart and taking 4 as a result is definitely not good.
Nice lamp dash from Gerdo.
Wow.
That's tricky. It takes optimal movement to beat the fire bar and to lamp and dash on the same frame.
You don't ever often hear of lamp dashing, of all dashes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're gonna get chest key. Gerdo uses hook shot. Gets through it without any anti-fairy damage.
Alright, so hopefully we're gonna have some better luck on Moldorm's side. No problems whatsoever with that Tempered Sword. I'm not gonna get knocked off today.
Very good.
Right,
Last chest of the game, but no reason to open it, so no chest turn opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, meanwhile, Tam is making their way through Ganon's Tower. Had a relatively, good tower so far. Not having taken any damage so far as well. Alright, is this Gerdo's 3rd cycle? Hopefully. Even in Aga 2, we don't like blue balls. Just gets things messed up.
Right. Yeah, Aghanim 2, maybe the hardest boss to do very well.
Well, what happened to College Card?
Well, you're right. I'm a hypocrite. But But yeah. But Agatu is also in the same manner that Ball and Chains is in a different manner. It's just easy to lose a lot of time, but in a manner where we have to kind of read the RNG, react to the patterns, and set up in a smart way, and execute the shots in the way that we want. So there's a lot going on in that fight.
No, you are certainly correct. I mean, Ball and Chain Guard probably could take your life pretty easily as well. It does require, but I think probably the movement could be more controlled. Aghanim 2 is a lot of reactions, but you're probably not going to be in danger of dying. Meanwhile, being in danger of dying, g3rd0, I think does pull off the 1-1 for a nice, phase 1 and phase 2, but, these fire bats do 4 hearts of damage. He is through the most dangerous phases of the fight. Still can't take a hit from Ganon, of course. Ganon always does 8 hearts, but the fire bats, at least are going to be slightly more predictable, even though he is now in official one-hit KO mode. Oh, thanks, Vortex. I didn't quite see the first half of the fight, but thanks, Vortex, for pointing out that it was actually 2-1, not 1-1. Alright, g3rd0 does get Torch Glitch with the Fire Rod, very still consistent for him. The Torch Glitch, of course, being that if you light the right torch, if you light the left torch before the right one goes out, the right one never goes out. This is going to be very beneficial for us. Something saves like 35-40 seconds, I want to say, on Ganon phase 4 when we can get to get some triple shots in, as opposed to if we have to light both torches. Probably, practically speaking, the most you're going to be able to get is 2 shots. Not to mention magic usage.
And Ganon explodes, and get your GGs in for g3rd0.
Walking across that bridge, g3rd0 finishes first place in our race from g3rd0 versus Tam with an official time of 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 6 seconds. GG's, g3rd0. Meanwhile, Tam, pretty closely behind, on their way ascending Ganon's Tower. Relatively healthy speaking as well.
Yeah.
As Gam just takes 2 hearts of damage here. Although that was a nice use of iframes, if that was intentional or not, being able to kind of walk through those fireballers without a care in the world.
Yeah, exactly. It cost only 1 heart to fall.
Yeah, whether that was intentional or not, Tam decided to walk their way over to get the full magic, and they'll walk down. We did hear a little jingle on their side to make sure, and Tam made sure to hear that before going up the stairs. If you end up going up the stairs right when that jingle happens, you could actually end up despawning the whole upper tower. While it's not, necessarily a bad thing in that you don't have to fight any more enemies, you cannot kill Agatu because that Agatu is also despawned, so you have to redo the whole tower all over again.
It's also a major glitch.
Is it really?
By the way, we're joined by g3rd0. GG g3rd0 on the win.
GG's, g3rd0.
Oh, thank you. Good game.
How did you feel about that run?
Yeah, not my best run, not my worst run. Some good parts, some bad parts. Overall, it should be enough to get me like a top 4 finish in this tournament.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah. What, I'm sorry, we've got Tam in Agatu, by the way. What did you think of this Ganon's Tower?
It started off really well until like Armos. It was actually really good. But then I had 18 arrows, but I didn't press Y, so... You should press Y if you want to shoot an arrow. So,
Did you not press Y intentionally, or did
No, I don't know.
something eat your input?
I knew I had 18 arrows, so I knew I can just spam Y and it's gonna be optimal, you know. For some reason, I just stopped early. Despite thinking, just spam Y. Literally 2 seconds ago.
But were you watching the were you watching Tam at all, like during this?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, like the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a relatively close race till Cold. It's kind of
That's
sad
right.
that happened,
Yeah.
but I've been on the other side of that coin, as Chegs might remember.
Yeah. That's how I got one of my lucky wins. Yeah, it's tough, but it was great to see a really close race right up to that point. And since then, Tam has handled the run very well.
Yeah, his Ganon looks better than mine already. That's good.
So, in your splits, you earn golds. Now, are those real or?
Oh no. I reset these splits just for the tournament.
Right. Okay.
Oh, I think I did like one run before the tournament. I don't even remember. I think I did.
You did
So these are not real golds, not real PBs. Sorry to disappoint.
Yeah, I can understand that. We saw gold light up on desert, which was a pretty good desert, but it wasn't a 2 cycle, let's say, but it was pretty solid.
Yeah. It was a 3.
Yeah.
Also golded escape, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
Can do slightly better than that, not much better.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much in the coming out of the light world, like you and Tam were so you had a better desert, nicely just ammo, and then unfortunately you got knocked off by Moldorm towards the end, and that basically synced you guys off.
My run was pretty good until that point, and it's always the same with me, like as soon as the first big mistake happens, it just devolves into a clone fiesta.
I thought you played pretty well. I mean, it looked okay. I mean, like, everything is red, but it's just you also got 4 blue balls, so...
Yeah. Blue balls are never an excuse, though.
Alright, so with that, Tam, very solidly puts Ganon to rest, finishes 2nd place in our race today with, let's see, an official time of 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 8 seconds. Get your GGs out in chat for Tam. We are also joined by Tam. GGs.
GGs.
GG.
GG.
That was a rough cold stare death. How did you feel about that run as you approached cold stare?
I was already pretty tilted going through Ice Palace because Ice Palace was terrible. So I went really risky on cold stare and it did not work.
You had some pretty bad luck even going into Ice Palace, right? Because you knocked out. You ended up getting hit, I think twice. You got a heart, which was great, and then you end up like getting knocked again. So then you didn't quite get to go into Ice Palace with full hearts.
Every time I got hit there, it was my fault, so I don't really feel bad about that.
I think otherwise, you recovered pretty well. I mean, just in terms of your execution, especially after the cold stare fight, still seemed very solid. So definitely some nice performance at the very end.
For sure. And great to see the spin clip in the Ice Palace Part 2 to get down the stairwell.
The reason I didn't go for that the first time is because of my messing up the bomb jump and I didn't menu at the right time. I would have gone for it otherwise.
Okay.
Gerda, were you counting? Go ahead, Tim.
One of the more notable things during this run was right after Hera, there was this huge spider like crawling right up next to my laptop, and it kind of freaked me out really badly.
Ooh.
So my Akatama climb was kind of affected as a result.
Have you considered moving somewhere other than Australia?
It's probably worth it.
Well, you handled the IRL situation well. It was not noticeable. Yeah, these things can happen for sure. That are really distracting. So, yeah, good runs from both of you. Again, too bad about the death, but solid throughout. How do you all feel going into the tournament brackets? Starting with you, g3rd0.
I think my next opponent is Super Nintendo Chalmers, who I already raced against in groups. I don't know, I think it's gonna be an easy win, to be
Okay.
honest. And then it's Casnote. Yeah, sounds pretty easy as well. I don't know. I think like Eri could be a problem in like winner bracket finals. But until then, I don't know.
You
Should be
did
walk
say
in the
top
park.
4, so
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Ari has a chance at top 4.
Yeah, I know Eri is better than me. I know Buane is better than everyone. So those are gonna be tough matches. No. Until then.
are you still going to try and get chess turns against them, g3rd0?
Sure. By the way, I saw some chatter that people think I bound down and A to the same button, but I can assure you this is all hard work I put into practicing this game. What are you seeing?
Perfectly legitimate control setup from our runners.
I would show proof, but it looks like on stream they're not showing my screen anymore, so sadly.
Yeah, Tam, looks like you're going to face Vortex. Is this your first time playing Vortex?
In NMG, yes.
Okay, so very familiar then
Yeah.
in Brando.
Yeah. In terms of brackets overall, I was already pretty satisfied with making it this far. I didn't really expect to win by loss race. So I'm not feeling too bad. I mean, I went into this race not expecting to win remotely, so dying sucked, but I don't think it changed much.
And Parisian player was your previous?
Yes.
Yeah, and both of you have been running really well, playing really well, getting PBs. So it's great to see a lot of improvement from runners in this tournament.
I'd like another PB kind of soon, but the game is too hard, so it's impossible.
Also true.
You have overcome many an obstacle to get to where you are, Tam. So certainly don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, any parting words from either of you?
Nothing special, just the usual good game, and thank you for restreaming, commentating.
Yeah, GG again, and good luck on your eventual match with Eri.
Thanks, I'm gonna need it. Good luck to you as well.
Thanks.
Yeah, definitely a perk of being in the winners bracket match. Both of you end up getting another match promised for sure. So, certainly best of luck to both of you moving forward.
Yeah, looking forward to the next races.
Yeah, GG's to both our runners again. I'll just throw mine in there. g3rd0 and Tam, thank you for commentating. Checks Human, Clearmouse. I threw the commands in chat so that you guys can all give them follows. And yeah, thank you so much. As far as schedule goes for today, we've got another NMG tournament match going on Zelda Speedruns 2. that we are going to go ahead and raid to. Tonight we've also got the Zelda 2 Randomizer Max Rando Tournament match at 10 p.m. Eastern, and a Twilight Princess any percent tournament match at 11:30 Eastern. Tomorrow we've got about 5 or 6 events, several of which are NMG tournament matches depending on volunteers. So if you guys are interested in any of that, go ahead and no problem, Ham. It's my pleasure. So, all right, let's go ahead and raid Zelda Speedruns 2. I am narrating as I type. And yeah, GG's again. Thank you for comms, and have a good day, everybody.